Welcome to the Thresholds of Reality, the podcast where we explore unexplained and mysterious events, phenomena, and legends. Today we are talking to Amber Schultz and VInnie Funkmaster Vineyard, producers of a show called Wrestling with Ghosts, and we're going to dive deep into their fascination with the unexplained. So strap in as we explore the edges of the unknown.
Whoa, I feel like I'm on an ID Discovery TV show.
Oh, it's so creepy, right? Isn't that so cool? Yeah.
Yeah, we're fancy here.
Yeah. Why don't we have these things, Amber?
I don't know.
Yes.
You need to find.
You guys need to have a production team comprised of amateur dodgeball players.
Beautiful. That sounds fun.
Yes.
So
we just have drag queens and furries. So
drag queens and furries. Yeah, you guys are in the wrong demographic. Dodgeball players is where it's at. So I went to an amateur wrestling match one time, and it was the closest thing I'll ever be to being in a real life cartoon.
Are you talking about high school wrestling?
No. This was like 2 years ago, downtown at a local theater called the Nile, and there was like amateur WWE style, but it was like
they call it independent. They get paid for that, so you can't.
They were all, hawking their wares and doing really well, but there was one guy called Cereal, and his gimmick was whatever box of cereal was on his head, he had the powers of the mascot that was on the box. And that particular night, he was wearing a Count Chocula box of cereal. And so he was basically a cereal vampire.
Oh my God.
and at the climax of the match, he pours a box of Captain Crunch all over the mat, and it body slammed both his opponent and the ref into the cereal. They barely managed to survive.
I bet they were probably diabetics.
Yeah, they had to tag team against them, and they managed to slam him. And I was like, "Get the milk!" And they just ran. They ran for their lives because he didn't bend or anything. He just stood up. I don't know how they pulled that off, but he just stood up without bending, like a freaking vampire. It was amazing. But the climax, the championship match that they had was between. They called themselves the Warhawks, but the reigning champions were called the Bayside Besties, and they were dressed like Zach Morris and AC Slater. And again, at the climax, things were looking really bad for the Bayside Besties. And I said, if Zach Morris doesn't time out and everyone freeze, I quit. I'm out of here, because that's what I'm here for. And that's what he did. Time out. He goes in, he rearranges everything, and then the other team ends up body slamming themselves, and Bayside Besties take it. Like, that's an unbeatable power right there. Time everything out.
Do you remember what promotion was that? Hood Slam, or was that Shikara? What was that? Do you know?
So the group is called Party Hard Wrestling. And it was a free to the public event that they were putting on to try and draw interest. They also were featured on a Netflix show called Travels with My Father.
I love that show.
Yeah.
It sounds terrible. My dad sucks, so that sounds terrible. We go to the parts store.
Well, I guess what I'm saying is that the world of wrestling has a lot of these kind of mysterious characters, and I was wondering, what is the craziest story you guys have about wrestling in the world of wrestling?
What's your craziest story, Amber?
Mine is zero, because I don't have a wrestling background.
I couldn't wait to hear. The craziest story. Good God, I don't know. I got Infantago from two transgender dogs in a fighting cage in Georgia, North Georgia once. There's
transgender dogs.
Yeah, they had they were Yeah, they had their genitalia removed, but yet I caught something from them. They got out, and nobody. We were trying to put them back in the cages, and I was in my underwear at the time. And when I was leaving, I was like, I got a freaking bump. And then it turned out to be this heinous legion. I don't know. That's not probably the story. I defeated Captain Crunch with the figure 4, and then I ate his face. The funny thing about wrestling has been put on the back burner for me because we're doing so much and I'm getting older, but it really was a fun caveat. I did an angle once where it's a magician's trick, but I could basically make a fireball come out of my fist. I call it the red fist of funk. And I would come off the top rope, fire coming off, boom, hit it. And everybody act like it burnt their face. And so I did a gimmick once where a guy pretended like we killed a guy with the fire, like he couldn't get it. Yeah. Anyway, and then but the reason it was funny is we got myself put in like Just Busted and those little newspapers you get at the gas station where I had a friend that did those, and he put me in there as a homicide or manslaughter. And so everybody was like, "You really killed that guy," and so it really helped. It really helped. And then my character was because mine's real funny, outgoing, and then I was like sullen and like, I don't want to wrestle anymore. And then they were like, "You got to wrestle because your contract." So that's the funny thing. Wrestling is nuts, man. I mean, it's a great. It's fun, man. I mean, it's great theater, and those guys kill themselves and to entertain people, and half of them are nuts. But
that's called commitment to your craft, man. Having that wanted poster, yeah, that's commitment.
Well, the internet took off after that. I'm glad it didn't happen, or I probably couldn't get a job. They look, for years. It'd be like, this guy murdered a dude in Athens, Tennessee. What the hell was that?
With a fire fist.
With a fist of fire.
That's great. So how did you go from wrestling to wrestling with ghosts? Tell me about that.
That's an interesting story too. So me and my tag team partner is a guy named Big Luke. He's 7 feet tall, and if you watch our movies, he's always nobody knows how to shoot. Everybody shoots his boobs because he's just so tall. It's like you got to shoot him from the face. So anyway, we got to do a lot of double takes on him.
He needs to wear a T-shirt with his face on it. That'll make it a lot easier.
Right. Big old guy, sweetheart of a man. Anyway, he's my tag team partner, and we were producing a really bad television show for Fox called Great American Wrestling. And we got fired after 6 months. And for a while, we didn't have anything going on. A lot of wrestlers were angry with us because we, like what you said, we try to make the show a little bit, we were making the TV entertainment instead of reality based. And a lot of people were like, you're making fun of the sport. Things like Luke had a sponsor every week on the TV shows. And one, he had like Rexall suppositories. In like one match, he grabbed his ass and he was like, "Oh, I got to go to the bathroom." And he like ran out of the ring, and the guy won by count out. And then like later in the show for the battle royal, he came out and he had toilet paper on his boots, like trailing off. So I mean, people were like, "You're making fun of the sport." Anyway, it was for TV, man. Trying to make it a little bit more interesting for the kids at home. But anyway, we got fired. So the wrestlers, we kind of got shunned from wrestling. A lot of people were very angry because the South takes wrestling very seriously. They don't have that kind of stuff down here. They still, there are pockets of people that still want to see this knockdown, drag out, punch you in the face as hard as you can, blood everywhere, reality pro wrestling in the South. The entertainment stuff, which is fun, that Count Chocula thing sounded hilarious and entertaining. But down here, people are still, they don't necessarily, I guess, believe it to be true, but they want to see it look real. So, and they think that other stuff's terrible. So anyway, we got fired from that, and we didn't really do anything for a year. We started our own podcast, which got pretty popular, but this jabron came down to Tennessee or Gatlinburg, which is a tourist town here, and ran into Luke, and he was saying he was going to make a documentary about paranormal activity. And I'm he talked to Luke. Luke was a manager of a restaurant, and also our other buddy Travis Graves, who's another wrestler. And they said, you need to check out this dude named Funkmaster V. He lives in Knoxville, and we got to instead of doing that, why don't we try to make a television show? And so we got together, and this guy was a total dweeb. This guy from the paranormal world. He was just he's a liar and one of these manipulators. In the paranormal industry, you run into these guys. They're just charlatans, and I don't want to bury the guy, but he ended up being a pedophile and stuff. You don't know that kind of stuff in the beginning. Yikes. But and he was a liar. We didn't know anything about TV at the time, and he said he had all these contracts and stuff. He was just a notorious fibber. We figured him out pretty quick, but we came up with this idea of a show where, what if this guy who got beat up at an investigation because his supposed team got oppressed or possessed by demonic spirits, and they actually fought him and kicked his butt. He was actually on the mountain. This is actually a true story. He's actually on a mountain calling his mom going, I'm not going to make it down from here. They're going to kill me. Like, he was running from his team because the team was acting, because these are all a bunch of jabrones. I don't know what was going on. But I said the premise for our show could be these three, you can hire 3 pro wrestlers to protect you from the denizens of the night. And, well, okay. So we went out, and the first time we're shooting was in Virginia at a place called the House of Gore, where High Pitch Mitch the Furry Amber lives, which is an interesting character. Good God. But we were shooting the first segment, Confederate Graveyard, and we were doing here, we heard there were hellhounds in this graveyard, and we were like, here, kitty, or here, kitty, or here, boy, come here. And out of the darkness, out of the ether, you hear this. We're like, okay, let's listen to that. We were like, what the hell? And so we turned it back, and we heard this growl, and we kept hearing the growls. And I ran down to the barn where they were filming some sort of thing. They were talking to a computer that, whatever, spits out words that the spirits are supposed to say.
Spirit box.
Something like that, but it was a laptop. It was like a spirit box. But we ran down there, and I was like, hey, man, there's growls in this where you said the hellhounds were. And the machine said, oh, I know Greta, and Greta's the name of my daughter. And at that point, I was like, okay, mother effer, you gonna bring my family into this? And later on, about 5 minutes, I said, what was that in the graveyard? And the machine said, it's a filthy cur. And a cur is an old-timey word for a mongrel dog. And I was like, that's really weird, So at that point, we were hooked. I was like, and there was a whole bunch that night that we captured it. And there's something about the way that we present ourselves. We use a lot of humor. We treat, we call it the charge because we feel like we charge the room up with this energy. We joke with the women or flirt with the women. We joke with the dudes, and we tease the kids. And because if these things are supposedly dead people, which I don't know if they are or not, the people walking in there screaming at them or cussing at them or acting afraid of them or asking how they died, that wouldn't interest me. But if a guy came in there going, hey, you guys ever anybody in here ever have a dream about kissing their brother? Or how much you guys bench press in here? What is some sort of thing? It's like we always get these weird responses that you don't normally get. And it's just insane, the type of evidence that we capture, because we kind of come out of left field. I guess some people would probably think it was, I don't know, not respectful or disrespectful. I pissed him off. But he's like, don't tell me he must have hurt himself bench pressing or something, or maybe he kissed his brother. I don't know what happened to your co-host there, but anyway, Jesus said the same thing. But anyway, that's how we started, and it was like, man, well, this is so much fun. And
no, that didn't
happen. But it's a lot of fun, and I got to say, and this kind of probably irritates some people too, it's not my favorite thing to do. Like, it's not what makes it doesn't crank the,
it's not your box of Count Chocula.
That's right. Even though that story angered me because I haven't found a box of Count Chocula for 2 years. And it's like, why is it only there in October? I mean, it's the most delicious chocolate cereal. I don't understand it. And I don't know where that guy got it. It makes me angry. But I guess you got to order it online. I ordered some online. It was like $20 a box, $10 a box, but still, it was delicious. But anyway, and so the last time we did an episode, we brought Amber out, and she was very sexual. And then we're doing another one here in a couple of weeks, which I'm looking forward to. And so the show, is always something funky going on in the show. So they're always fun to make.
So it sounds like you're trying to build rapport with the spirits that you encounter. Is that what's happening? Like you go in, you're not asking them first date questions. You're skipping right to the third date.
Well, I'm terrible at small talk, which if it wasn't, thank you for that. Keep shaking your head more emphatically.
Yes.
I'm always like, I would be, if I wasn't married, I'd be in bad shape because because I'd be talking about this kind of stuff or other weird thing. I don't talk about weather and stuff like that. But yeah, I think the motivation, instead of trying to be friends with them or try to build a rapport is try to entertain them. That's what I've always been. I've been a stand-up comic and a musician and can we do something that this thing has never seen before? And I don't know if this is, this is a paranormal podcast, but I mean, there are people that think you're a complete idiot that think this stuff is real. But there's just a preponderance of evidence at this point that we've amassed that you got to say there's got to be something and I also think there's a chemistry with who we have as friends that there's some sort of je ne sais quoi or something that when we get into a place that there's some sort of, it gets goosed up. And I think we anger things at times. And I think we make some things happy and we bring joy to some of the things. And so, and it's all out of love. We're not trying to be disrespectful, but we've done investigations like in Easton, Pennsylvania at this place called the Horsefly Chronicles. And they said after we went there and the oppression was heavy when we first went there. And we just continued to just bombard it with humor and not be afraid of it. They said for 6 months, nothing happened. They said that apparently whatever, and they were being oppressed. It was kind of a serious thing. There was like, and again, this is their account. I don't know if it's true or not, but they would have pictures of things that looked kind of nefarious or whatever. And so we just, went in there and just didn't take it seriously. And there's a promo online. This is supposed to be one of the scariest places in America as a private residence. So one of our promos is Luke, who's the tall guy. He's sitting there going, I feel something in the room. I feel something in the room. I feel something in the room. Something's happening. My left ball hurts. And it's like, it was like, and what was significant about that is I sat in that chair and my balls hurt. So, I mean, that's the kind of content you're going to get. Our Bobalones. I guess that's more
not a chair to sit in then.
Yeah, it's probably the tack in it.
You're getting ghost shots in the nuts. That's what's happening.
Yeah. Slick. Yeah. Asshole. Yeah. But yeah, that's so I mean that's kind of how we roll. But that's after that they said everything was chill and we've been to places. I tell you, one of the last episodes we had, we went and did a ghost light, which I thought that would be bad television.
What's a ghost light? What does that mean?
Have you never heard of it?
No, I'm pretty new to all this paranormal stuff. So,
okay, well, a ghost light interests me. I'm not big into the gadgets, right? Me and Luke or Travis or any of the other people that kind of go with us, we're high touch, not high tech. So we don't do a lot of EMF detectors and I'm not putting anybody down that does. I think everything's a tool it's fun. First of all, this is a hobby. Secondly, it's just, anything, this bottle of saline solution for my contacts somehow, if somebody was creative enough, could use this to get some sort of reaction out of the spiritual universe, or the veil between the aperture of the veil, or some, anybody can use anything as a totem to kind of get something rocking and rolling. So I'm not going to poo-poo on anybody else's stuff, but I like audio and visual. So I want to hear the thing or I want to see the thing. And so I wanted to do a ghost light, because ghost lights there is a light that you cannot declare away. So a ghost light typically a ghost light is some sort of paranormal or natural phenomenon where there is a light where there shouldn't be one. And you try to debunk it by saying, is it cars? Is it airplanes? Is it swamp gas? Is it this, that, or the other? Are there kids down there shooting off firecrackers or whatever? But pretty much you can pretty much deduce what is something that's very weird or unique or paranormal, or in something that would be a regular physical situation. And I don't think you've not seen the episode of the ghost light, have you, Amber?
No, not yet.
Okay, so the ghost light in this show that we did, so we go down there and we're talking and we're doing our humor, and it's in South Carolina on a train track that goes straight for miles. Now, I'm from the East Coast and I live in the South now. It's very unnerving. It's weird to see like a railroad track going for miles, because where I live, for the cities, you can't see down the street. And now I live in the country, everything's turning twisty-turvy hills. So when you see something that goes on for a long way, I'm not an expert on saying, oh, that's 3 miles away, because to me, it's just crazy to see that far. So
yeah, that was the one. Is that the one that I came with you guys on and did the videography for?
Yeah, of course. What do you think we're talking about? We've only done one ghost light. Yes.
I thought
So,
you
did you just want to talk? Is that why?
I just wanted to plug. They didn't know the sound of my voice. I mean, you have been talking this whole time.
Okay, just keep talking there.
No, I'm good. You're good.
Okay, all right. So anyway, you saw the thing first. You were actually holding the camera when we saw the ghost light.
Yeah,
because I remember editing it. But so anyway, long story short short story that was long, now short again, is so we see this gimmick down there, and Luke, who again, you guys are going to think I have a crush on him. I keep talking about him. He's like, that's a car, quit being stupid. And we're like, that's not a car, that's on the train tracks. He's like, you're being an idiot. But if you looked, and I had the benefit of doing the editing too, is the ghost light was multicolored, because she zoomed in and there was like flashes of orange and red and amber and different. Hey, it was you. Anyway, there were different flavors in there, and a car light is pretty generic. It's this white kind of blue color, almost like the thing behind my head here. And it was definitely something that was changing colors. And I'm telling you, we're in a place where there's hurricane towns, which are towns that are abandoned because the hurricanes come through and nobody comes back. There's no population down here. We are in the middle of, you could go to sleep on the street and not get killed because there's no cars coming. There's nothing in this area that we were in. And so we debunked it, and we did the car thing. Like, we go, okay, I'm going to get in the car and we're going to see if it was a car. We're going to see what a flashlight looks like. And the light moved, so it wasn't like a reflection off of a sign on the train tracks and nothing. So that's when you're like, what is that? That's nuts. Because there's no way in the world at 2 a.m. there's a guy down there with a flashlight, and it wasn't a flashlight. So you're like, and then we also, and this happens a lot with ghost lights, and I'm not an expert, maybe some of your listeners know more, but we had a situation where there was all this blue fog, purple fog that was surrounding where the light was. And you hear that a lot, that this, when you see a ghost light, there's this kind of swampy stuff. That's why a lot of people think it's swamp gas, but it just doesn't make sense, because the whole thing about orbs and lights and ghost lights is that an orb, so many people are like, look at this orb. You're like, dude, you're in a freaking 100-year-old library. That's just dust kicking up. But an orb has to emit its own light. And that's what this did. It's not a reflection. It's not a light shining off of something, which I guess what a reflection is, but it was something that was generating its own light source, and that makes it interesting. Is it a ghost? I have no idea, but it's somewhere in the United States where people go. If you go down here, you can see a light you can't explain, a ghost light. And there's the other weird thing about this particular ghost light, and this is in Causey, South Carolina, Causey. There's no story. Normally there's a story of children were playing, a bunch of deaf children were playing on the train tracks, and a train comes by and they're honking the train bell and they smash the children and all the boogers and butts are flying up into the trees. And now there's a lantern. There's a guy with there's a ghost with a lantern going, oh. There's no story like that at all. They're just like, you go down here, you see a light that shouldn't be there. And for some reason, that appeals to me more, that there's not all this fabrication or narrative.
I seen one orb one time, and it was probably about this big, and it was hovering about 4 feet off the ground, and it didn't light up everywhere. It only lit up below. And then it started to move. Like I walked in, like it was actually in like a friend of mine's backyard. I was walking in to see if they were there. I walked in, and I was like, that's odd. And then it started to move. And so I turned around and I walked away, and I walked out to the street, and it went out to the street, and then it headed south. And all these people came out of their houses. There's a convenience store. Like my wife had seen it because she was like 4 doors down. And it was just hovering in the middle of the street, just floating down the street.
What the hell was that?
I don't know. It was crazy though.
Well, and what was interesting I was on the tracks while VInnie was in the car going around trying to debunk a few things. And it was pitch black. I mean, you couldn't see your hand in front of your face. And the blue mist actually lit up. Like you could see it in the darkness. Yeah. And I got a couple stills on my camera that the first light was almost like a candle, like waist level, that was swinging. And then that vanished. And then a larger light appeared above, almost like a train headlight. And it was shining straight down, like it was illuminating the tracks.
That was a great shot. We used that in the show. It was
insane.
She had I guess everybody has great cameras now because these iPhones and these Androids are incredible cameras, but the camera lit up, it was pitch black like she says, but somehow the camera lens was able to get all the information to actually light up the trees and the train tracks, and it looks like a train coming down the track, man. It's wild.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It's fun.
Yeah. So is that the craziest thing that you guys have come across? Or I'm sure you've got a ton of stories in in the chamber here. You can
I could talk to you for 3 hours about the crap we've seen with Wrestling with Ghosts. I mean, there's that's the thing that's wild is that we always have a good time, but we always run across stuff. I mean, God, let me think of the craziest thing.
Kyle is a bit of a ghost magnet. He has a lot of ghosts in his life, but he's not really a ghost hunter. I guess he's more of like a ghost landlord.
Well, I think that's part of it. We have a girl on our team, a lady. I guess girl is derogatory these days, but we have a lady on the team.
Why is that? Why is girl derogatory?
I don't know. People are so sensitive. Everything. It's just like, don't call me a girl. I'm a grown woman. I had a baby and pay rent or pay mortgage. Okay, you're a woman. I'm sorry. But we had a woman on the team. She actually would be angry at me calling her a girl. Is why I think I said that. So
I see.
She's kind of a damper, so she kind of is a cooler when it comes to spirits. And then and so if something happens around her, then it's kind of a big deal because she's kind of the opposite. And then we have, I think, people on the team where stuff comes. That sounds gross. But anyway, thank you. So my personal favorite story, we have several that have happened, but on our season 1, episode 3, we go to a place called Mary Death Antiques, which it's kind of weird when you're in a town called La Follette, Tennessee, and there's an antique store called Mary Death, which you have no idea what kind of foot traffic that's going to kick up in the middle of nowhere Tennessee town. But But Follett, Tennessee is one of the most haunted cities we've ever been in, and it needs to be known nationwide that this is a wild place. But Mary Death, the story is it's a 4-level junk shop, toy shop. Had some cool stuff, but it was really dirty inside. But there were some really neat items they had too. In the alley, a little girl, the story goes, was, and I don't know how little, but young-ish, was murdered and raped. And unfortunately, and the other side of the wall was where this horrific accident happened. And so we're bebopping around the toy store, and people like Travis are more interested in the Star Wars toys and stuff than actually doing the ghost hunting. But while we were filming, on the floor, these tiny little footprints appeared, made out of dirt. They were completely out of dirt. And nobody saw it. And we had video of the floor before where there was nothing on it. And we were looking at the feet, and we were like, those are tiny feet. Like everybody there, even the guy who was the dork that we were hanging around the first season of the show, his feet weren't that small. And so we decided to do a session there. And right next to where those feet were, to the left, weirdly enough, were a bunch of dolls and toys that children, little girls would like. And to the right, from the floor to the ceiling, was complete 100, 200 Ouija boards.
No, come on.
Yeah, they were stacked in the boxes on the right. So we set up some little dolls, and I sat there, and I was like, hey, because I knew we were talking to a little girl. I was like, hey, you wanna come play with me? You wanna talk to me? I'm a dad. I love little girls. I got a couple little girls. You know, I like, you know, I think girls are fascinating. And so I'm sitting there, and man, so when something is happening in this realm, it feels like the air pressure changes, and it feels like it's almost like a weird part of a movie. Like, you just feel this, it gets quiet, things get dense, things become important. Like the focus comes down or something. So I'm sitting there talking, and I'm filming myself because I'm the only person in this particular part of the area in the building. And I'm sitting there talking to the girl, or trying to. And I hear this voice. I didn't hear the voice. It was on the TV show, the EMF or EVP. I'm sorry. You hear this thing say, "Kill the brat." I killed that brat. And then I'm sitting there talking still, and you hear, "I killed the brat. I killed that brat." And it wasn't a disembodied voice. It was something that was over the EVP frequencies or whatever. So I'm still sitting there like, doo-doo-doo, and I see the hair on my arm start to move. It feels like a little girl's touching my arm. And on the camera, it picks up this, ooh, like a little girl. And I'm sitting there going, "Is that you?" And so I sit there and talk to it for a few minutes, and I just feel this immense sadness. I forget what's funny is we've done so many episodes and so many crazy things happen. I forgot that happened until I was editing it. And when I was editing it, I felt this great sadness. Well, fast forward about a year, Luke has a gay friend, and the gay guy, well, actually, it's a stranger. I'm sorry. He becomes a friend later, but this gay guy comes up to Luke, and he goes, "You've got a little girl following you around." And he's like, "What the hell are you talking about?" And he's like, no, I'm talking about a spirit. There's a little girl that follows you around. And her name is Megan. And she says, we're in this stuff. This stuff is buck wild crazy. But he goes, "You and another man she thinks are her new daddies, and she likes spending time with you two. And she says that she met you at a toy store very far away." And I was like, so Luke told me that jive, and I was like, "Hey, you jive ass turkey, get the hell out of here. You're making that jive up." But I actually met this man. This was not a friend of his. This became an acquaintance of ours. And he said, yeah, it's Megan, and that's what it is. And during that time, any toy that we had, me and Luke, glass would be knocked off the table, toys would be turned on. And then now she, every once in a while, she'll show up on our episodes. We were doing a show in Hamilton, Ohio, at Poasttown Elementary School. And a little girl, we were doing roll call because it was a school. And Luke was like, when I point at you, say your name. So he's like, we're doing a roll. So he's doing this. I thought that was pretty unique. I like that. And then he pointed in this little voice, Megan. And we were like, what the hell? And we're talking years and, God, 600 miles apart or something like that. Maybe 400 miles apart, so makes you wonder.
Does she still follow you?
Yeah, I don't know. I moved recently, and I don't know if I've seen her in a while, but it wasn't all the time. It was more frequently back in 2017, and but she may still be around.
Maybe she's in that rebellious teenager phase. It's like you can't tell me what to do. You're not my real dad.
That's why these doors are slamming all the time. I think I'm going to listen to The Cure.
You don't understand me.
I don't. You're right. You're weird.
Oh man, that's crazy. What about you, Amber? You got any crazy stories from the road?
Not from the road, because like you said, I just recently joined in with them doing wrestling with ghosts, but I have always been one that attracts spirits my whole life, even from childhood. And my most bizarre one, I actually shared with another episode that they produced called It Happened to Me. I was on one of the first episodes. And I grew up really strict religious. And so ghosts were just demons. We weren't allowed to talk about it. And we were pretty poor. And we moved into this house that was a former drug house. There's still shotgun holes in the wall where this lady was murdered. Crazy stuff.
Jeez.
And long story short, because there's a lot of stuff that happened. Like there would be someone walking around outside my bedroom window, but there'd be nobody there. You could hear like the branches crushing. My door would open up randomly. My stuff would go missing. Stuff would move in my room. But one night, and it would always happen around 3:00 in the morning at the same time every single night. But the pinnacle of it was I was asleep and I always slept with my door shut, and a white light filled my entire bedroom. And I open up my eyes and there's this lady walking into my room from outside my room. The door was open. She walks in, the whole room is illuminated, and she starts pulling me out of my bed. Like I start lifting out of the bed. Like almost like the best way I can think of it is like poltergeist style. I'm like sitting up not on my own at all. And all I start thinking is like, don't go into the light. Don't go into the light. That's like the only thing that was crossing my mind. And I shut my eyes really, really tight. And the light disappears. I fall on the bed and I'm completely numb from head to toe for the next 10 minutes. Yeah.
Is that what do they call it? Sleep possession spirit or sleep possession demon or something like that?
Something like that. And it wasn't long after that she visited me again, and she was actually floating above my bed and actually choking me. It was really weird. And like there was a name kept running through my head going Catherine, Catherine, Catherine. And it turned out to be the name of the woman that was murdered. So sounds like she's got some pent up aggression. And she was taking it on the poor little Amber. Yes, I was about 16 or so at the time when that happened. And stuff like that has happened to me on and off my whole life. So it's pretty crazy.
So it sounds like you're a spirit landlord too. Kyle's shared some real doozies on the show before, but yeah, that's pretty intense. I have had almost zero spiritual interaction. So I'm kind of the outsider trying to figure out where it's all coming from. Why
are you interested in it if you haven't had a lot of experience or everything that you've ran into can be explained away.
Yeah, I'll tell you that my mom and my wife are very spiritually tuned. My mom has had interactions with my dead brother, with her parents who are both deceased. My wife is very intuitive, borderline psychic. And
I think that's just a natural woman trait.
yeah, I mean, we've had psychics on the show and I asked them about it too, but I think there's something else there because it's like there's no way that she should know the things that she knows. There's really no way. So yeah, there's like it's like adjacent. And you said that growing up you were in a strict religious household. Me too, but depending on the type of spirit, my mom would just kind of like incorporate that into, depending on where she encounters a spirit. She, like if she has an experience at church, for example, she's like, well, that's a blessed spirit. That's a God blessed encounter. Or, if she's in a state of peace, when she encounters a spirit, then it's a blessed encounter. Right. And so for her, it's a good thing. She's never had any negative experience. It's always been, talking to them and trying to figure things out.
Yeah.
And, that's a very valuable asset if you can get in touch with the other side and figure things out. I don't know if that's an accurate description, other side, but seems like a lot of them are still here with us, not on any other side, just that we can't see them.
Yeah.
I think there's a book by C.S. Lewis, or a trilogy called Out of the Silent Planet, and they talk about these creatures called the Alletals. I'm probably butchering the name, but it opened my mind up to what these things could be. I think, because I don't know still, but I do think spirits could be something that we can't perceive. The Bible says we perceive in 3 parts, but there is actually 4 dimensions. We perceive in length and width and depth, but there's actually something called breadth that nobody knows what that means. The translation doesn't really work. Nobody knows what that word means, but there's a 4th dimension we can't understand. And I kind of think these things exist. Like if we were 2-dimensional, we could see things, but it wouldn't be what they really were. And I think these things that we perceive on ghost hunts and whatever happens are things that are operating and could be going through all these different situations and movements and stuff that we can't even perceive. But once in a blue moon, just like if we were 2D and a 3D person walked in, we could perceive something, a little tiny bit. And I think that's what we're doing is we're picking up on something that is moving through some sort of dimension that we can perceive in.
Yeah. My dad, he's a very scientific guy, but also he's married to my mom, who's a very spiritual woman. So he actually came up with the same analogy. If you were to pass a sphere through a plane, it looks like a circle kind of growing and then it fades. Yeah. Right. And that's kind of the same idea that he looks at it with is, it might be that we're experiencing something other dimensional as it comes through. And
we don't perceive it. We don't perceive it properly either.
It might just be that it's something else that exists naturally in our plane, if you want to call it that. But we just don't have the bandwidth. Right, the visual spectrum.
Well, also too, time is a man-made concept anyway. So the other thing that happens is, why are ghosts not hanging out their house every night or whatever? It's because time is this fog. So I mean, what appears to us that may be the next day, 24 hours. To whatever creature that is, it could feel like a second, and it could be 75 years later, because they're operating in a different plane or in a different reality or a different set of rules. There's a movie, I think it's called Ghost Story, which is an independent movie where the guy he dies, and the whole movie he walks around with a bed sheet, kind of looks corny, but it's like he'll just like he'll like look down and look up, and it'll be 100 years later. And I think that's one of the coolest things about the movie is it opens your mind up to the perception of these things are totally different than us. And we think we've got everything. This is what it is. And it's 2022 and all this shit's important. But really, we're just dust in the wind, to quote that terrible song. But, we're just moving through, and things are moving so fast, and things that we think are so important just, they pass and they go, we think, oh my God, this is the worst thing ever. And 6 months later, you don't even remember it. It's just these, I think the ghosts or whatever these things are, I think they exist somewhere else. And it's also can kind of be philosophically make you feel real small about stuff too. Like these things are eternal, or, I'm aging and dying, and all of the people I know their feet are getting neuropathy and they're looking uglier, except for Amber. But and they're aging, and they're now talking about 401k, and they used to be cool to hang out with. But these spirits are just kind of on these planes that don't move.
I wish the ghosts in my house took a break.
Yeah.
They don't.
Yeah.
Well,
they don't break in my house.
What's the last thing that happened, Kyle?
The last thing was last night. The ghost was they kept opening, closing the door, and they just kept walking by just like normal, walking back and forth. I swear, I think they took my iWatch just to mess with me for like 3 weeks.
Dude, you know what they were doing, Kyle? They were counting their steps.
They might have been.
There we go.
They're trying to close that ring.
But it's in my house. It's every day. There is no break. There is no gone. Just they don't go anywhere.
Do they bother you though? Or is it fun?
They move stuff around. Sometimes they scratch us.
Well, you should have us up. We have a weird effect on these things. It's so strange. Like when we do house investigations, the people are always like, things are so different now that you guys came in. I don't know why. I'm not saying we're superheroes or super priests or anything, but everything, it's like the flavor changes. They always say they either stop or they become nicer, or they just
we don't mind them there. They're fine. They're just kind of part of our lives. We're all right.
Right.
We don't mind.
Like having a cat.
Yeah, it's scratching
It's
up all hours, steal your watch. That is a cat. Maybe you have a cat. You
mess with me. Well, like I said, my watch disappeared. I tore my house apart for 3 weeks. Every which way, everywhere, 1,000 times I went over it, and then about a week ago, there it is, sitting next to my guitar.
Makes no sense. Yeah.
There's no way that I didn't miss it sitting next to my guitar. But then I don't know. Like I said, I've had one that's been with me since I was a little kid. They're there every day.
Yeah,
that's the one that opens and closes the door.
They got things to do.
What?
They got things to do. I always think it's funny. I steal this from Luke, but people are always like, aren't you? Because we're always told to be afraid of the ghost and be careful. Be careful when you ghost hunt. Oh, God. And you're like, it's okay. It's fine. And they're like, what if you get an attachment? And Luke always said, he goes, if a ghost wants to come to my house and watch me play Skyrim for 6 hours, then I'm going to get up and go take a smelly ass dump and not shut the door. If it wants to do that for the rest of its existence, then have at it. But I think it'll get bored quick and go somewhere else. And that's how I feel too. I'm just like, these things, I don't know. They're not anything to be really afraid of. And I think the one thing I think is if there are nefarious spirits, it's the energy you give it helps manifest what it is. If you don't treat it with fear, I don't think there's too many people in America that are having books thrown at their head every night and stuff. And the thing that happened with Amber, Amber didn't tell you in her story that her life had a lot of chaos at that point. And there was a lot of, the reason you move into
negative energy.
Yeah, the reason you move into a trap house in the middle of nowhere, was that in Tennessee or was that in Idaho or where was that?
Tennessee.
So you're in Tennessee in a trap house. You move your girls in there. There's going to be some negative funk going on because there was a lot of evil in that place. And I think, talking about scientifically too, I think a lot of this stuff could be residual energy. And energy doesn't ever go away. And so if somebody gets killed with a shotgun and somebody's pointing at them going, I'm going to blow your effing head off, I mean, your energy level is going to be like, oh shit, and then they're going to blow your head off. I mean, that energy's still in the ether, it's still in the cosmos. So there's some people think that a lot of that stuff, especially vibes and funk and all that stuff, negative energy is because of that. So who knows? That's what's fun about paranormal stuff, is because nobody really knows. You can't, it's not religion, so nobody's going to get angry at somebody and be like, I think so-and-so, but it's still this thing. It's part science, part magic, part philosophy, and it's something we can look into and gather evidence and try to figure out what's going on. I think that's kind of the fun part about it, is because we live in a day and age where everybody is poo-pooed and proven everything wrong or false. Like all the stuff we used to believe, it's like, oh, well, that's not true. Or no, that's not happened. The things like the mysterious rocks that move across the desert. They're like, hey, it just gets cold and the wind blows them and they go real slow, or whatever. It's just everything mysterious is gone. That's why paranormal's fun, is because there's still some question marks, and that's what's fun.
Yeah, we definitely don't claim to be experts in anything, but we are out here trying to just kind of get at the edges of it, see how deep into something we can get. And we're exploring lots of different things. Like we have UFO hunters come on, or UFO experts come on. We have ghost hunters come on. We've had psychics come on. Right now we're looking for some Bigfoot cryptid hunters to see what we can find. But there's a lot of things out there that I think we've been trying to explain or pin down for centuries, and for some reason we can't get a handle on these things.
I think it's interesting too. You guys are from Phoenix. I think what's interesting is I think ghost hunting is probably better for where I am, and UFO hunting is probably better for where you are.
Yeah,
and there's almost true. There's a regional kind of thing, because there's so much. The South is so weird. You had slavery down here. You had the Civil War down here. You had what happened to the Native Americans down here. There's a lot of pain. There was a lot of. You had points where the South actually was the richest part of the country. You had parts where the South was not the richest part of the country. So you had a lot of variance. There's a lot of religion. There was a lot of black magic, witch magic, all this stuff around here. So, I mean, it's in the trees. Sometimes when you're just around the trees and there's like druids and witches, there's everything. There's a cornucopia of crazy spiritual stuff. That's why right now we're making these movies. We're making 6 horror comedy movies about the South and some of the lore that's around, and some of the legends and the cryptids and some of the myths. And so we're making these movies about it's cool. I'm an East Coast guy, but down in Tennessee, I mean, it's like this stuff's wild. There's some crazy stories and a lot of fun to talk about.
Yeah, and that's kind of where we are. I mean, Kyle didn't tell me that he was hosting so many ghosts when we started this podcast. I thought we were kind of on a level playing field, but I've realized since starting this that I'm the neophyte. Kyle's a veteran, and just trying to get a handle on things.
What you do in your bedroom is your business. I mean, that's I'm a libertarian. I think if you're not harming anybody, you can be in the weird neo. If the body is dead, that's anyway. That's not a funny joke. Stop that, Amber.
I can't take you anywhere.
You haven't taken me anywhere. We're supposed to go back to that Thai restaurant, and you keep kayfabing me.
You keep blowing me off.
Well, I'm going. Hey, tell you what. I'm sorry to do this on your podcast. I'm going to Sevierville right now. Can you do lunch in about an hour and a half?
Possibly.
All right, I'll talk to you later. Sorry about that. Making a date on your podcast.
Hey, it's all right.
Yeah.
Definitely support that kind of thing. Well, so tell us where can folks find your latest projects?
If you go, we have so much going on, it's nuts. The easiest thing to do, I would think, is go to YouTube and look up Big and Funky Productions. It's Big and Funky Productions. We also have a website called bigandfunkyproductions.com. And again, that's the N and not the A. We've got a movie that just released this week called WJHCAM. It's a horror comedy. It's black and white. It's about Y2K. It's got a 9.6 on IMDb right now, which is really high. 5 stars on Amazon. We are very proud of it. It's the story of it's actually my story. I moved down to Tennessee, tried to get a job in radio, could not get a job in radio, so I had to start working at a Southern Gospel radio station. And basically, it's what if Y2K happened, Armageddon happened, and all the assholes were left behind to defend themselves against the denizens of the night. So it's a comedy, it's a horror, it's observational, and there's like a moral to the story, and there's a kind of a religious thing to it too, even though it's got boogers and butts and boobs and people getting their head ripped off and all that stuff. It's also got a little bit of Jesus in there too. Yeah, Funkmaster.
Boobs.
Hey, boobs. There's boobs. Quite a bit, and you get to see my ass, which I shouldn't say that. Anyway, so that's our latest movie. We have another movie called The Hike, which is about the Cherokee legend of Spearfinger. That was released last year on Amazon Prime. We have a new version. Also, Wrestling with Ghosts is our paranormal show. That's on Saltbox, Asai TV, and Intrigue TV. And I also we make a show called It Happened to Me, which is ghost stories, simple, and that's on Asai TV too. Plus, we do comedy videos, video game videos, music videos. So we do a lot there. We
scratched the surface with you guys.
Yeah, we do a lot. We're busy, and I don't sleep very often.
So I already in my psychic ability, I already see another episode with you guys.
Please. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I like talking. You can probably tell that I'm an enemy of brevity.
Yeah. I literally come on just to smile.
That's people send me. They're like that Amber chick.
Okay.
I know the feeling, Amber.
Amber's great. She just smiles and nods. I said sometimes that's all you need. You just need a little positive. There's so much negativity. You just need a pretty girl to sit there and smile and nod, and some ugly ass dude to talk about himself like he's important. And that's perfect. That's a tag team right there.
We sounds like we're all working really well together. I appreciate you guys coming on,
Me too.
Taking the time. I know you guys are very busy, and so it means a lot to us that you take this time to chat with us and share your great stories. So
come back and share more stories.
We'd love to have you come back,
Absolutely.
share plenty more. And as always, we want everybody to like, comment, subscribe, follow Funkmaster V and Amber Schultz and all of their great projects. And until then, keep on exploring the edges of the unknown.